story today. Apparently there's a lady that threw some garbage, I guess, in another resident's garbage bin. But the thing was, she apparently threw away puppies. As it says here in the tweets, it says, a woman tossed these pups in a dumpster in Coachella. News release posted on our Facebook pages. Pups okay in foster care. And it says, we are investigating a case of suspected felony animal cruelty in Coachella. And I guess with this, the way they found out was somebody, I suppose, was just throwing the garbage away like normal. They probably heard like a sound or something, but they actually had video surveillance recording in the area, and you could see her throwing it away. So because of that, she was investigated, and I suppose when the police went to her house, they found there was 38 more dogs living there, and it wasn't a very good condition. Can you imagine that? Someone just throwing away puppies like that in a garbage bin. I would imagine for a lot of people, it would be no difference emotionally than throwing away like a human newborn. So it kind of makes me interested in wondering what kind of character, like how you develop this kind of personality to be able to throw that away. It's like, yeah, who cares? And for drones, those drone laws are coming really soon here in Canada. And once again, for this law, it also affects those people who've been flying things like RC planes for years. And to my understanding, they haven't been exempt, so they have to go through the same process as everyone else. This article is kind of interesting. It said, local RC airplane pilots leery of new drone rules. The Diamond Aces RC Flying Club in Steinbach is hoping they will be exempt from the federal new drone rules. As of June 1st, all remote-controlled aircraft between 250 grams and 55 pounds will be required to have proper licensing and registration to be flown legally. While President Larry Moore agrees that this legislation makes sense for reckless pilots or drones with mounted cameras, he feels it could be detrimental to the 30-odd members of his club. Kind of an interesting statement, which I'll come back to a little later. So from what I read here, this person is part of the MAAC club, and they basically have a lot of their own flying fields, and to my understanding, a lot of them don't really welcome drone flyers. But his argument is basically they've been doing it for years, they have their own regulations, so let them be. It says a lot of the rules the government is putting in place are already being followed by MAAC clubs. The current situation is really good and has been working for many years. Until now, the flying club has not been required to heed them because of their affiliation with MAAC. Moore says this is why they are still able to fly their remote-controlled airplanes within city limits. However, if the Diamond Aces RC Flying Club is not excused this time around, not only would they be responsible for filling out the onerous paperwork, but also forced to move their landing zone from behind the diamond construction in Steinbach to a space at least 9 kilometers away from the nearest airport. If we don't get an exemption, I don't know what will happen. I don't think there will be much flying at all. And then he brings up the point in terms of regulations and registration. Since you have to register every single drone, what if you're building your own drone with your own parts? It says, Moore says there are other factors to these incoming rules that concern him. I like to build my own airplanes, he offers. Now, if I'm going to register this, they want to know who manufactures this and that I'm following their building instructions. To me, that's kind of unfortunate. So ultimately, it's one of those, we've been doing this for years, you don't need the government involved. Should they be exempt, for example, because they've been doing it for years safely? In many ways, it makes sense, and it comes out of that topic as well of people that find that the new rules benefit them, like say commercially in every way, then it's who cares, like as long as I benefit from it. But again, you have to think of everybody that it affects. Although in a funny way, when he mentions it makes sense for things that have like mounted cameras and stuff like that, unfortunately, I'm inclined to say in that sense, they're not thinking of everybody as well. Because for a person like me that flies it really safely, I would argue if I'm flying like an open field, kind of like what they do, except I'm specifically trying to capture footage of like the scenery, in my opinion, that should be okay too. That's usually a touchy subject for people too. Should a RC plane flyer, so to speak, be categorized the same thing as a drone flyer like myself? Because in some ways I'm inclined to say that actually creates more division when you categorize like, I am this quote RC flyer, this is a quote drone flyer. It's like, is a person like me supposed to be the bad guy even though I fly it safely? I use it just like a regular camera. It would make me think like back people would say for a sport, boxing, hey, that's perfectly fine, it's controlled and all that. But if you say things like MMA, oh my goodness, so barbaric, look at what those guys are doing. Even though realistically they're both like a sport in that sense, and you could have the aspect of boxing inside the MMA. I would think like there, even though they're kind of different in terms of style, they're both still technically a sport. So the sooner people kind of see that and realize that, then the better for everyone, in my opinion anyways. Because like with mounted cameras, why not have that on the RC plane, for example, so you can show people what it's like, as opposed to always keeping it, I guess, within your own club, I guess you could say. I mean, people need to be educated nowadays just because of things like you could say, people like me, because I fly things like drones, it brings more attention, but you need to help people understand it as well, that for the most part, people use it safely. Is it too far-fetched to say, for example, a person like myself who doesn't fly like an RC plane, so to speak, in a traditional way, but I fly like a drone, I am, in a way, encouraging people to accept your style of flying as well? Otherwise, in my opinion, that would kind of be like me having the mindset of saying, it works for a person like me, who cares about you guys? Because for me, again, I try to think about everybody. Two squirrels are talking to each other. Alright, see you guys later.